Dear James, I've begun this letter 5 times and torn it up 5 times. I keep seeing your face, which is also the face of your father and my brother. You resemble your grandfather. Well, he is dead. He never saw you, and he had a terrible life. He was defeated long before he died because, at the bottom of his heart, he really believed what white people said about him.
Hey, buddy, no offense, but I don't think you're able to survive in this world because, look at you. You know, you're not so great. Just look at your skin color. You're never gonna be able to succeed in life, and it is nothing personal. It's just how things work. It's just business.
Okie doke.
Idiot! You can't take what he says to heart. I have known both of you all your lives, have carried your daddy in my arms and on my shoulders, kissed and spanked him, and watched him learn to walk. I don't know if you've known anybody from that far back. If you've loved anybody that long, you gain a strange perspective on time and human pain and effort. Other people cannot see what I see whenever I look into your father's face. For behind your father's face as it is today are all those other faces which were his. Let him laugh and I see a cellar your father does not remember.
I'm just a crazy darn fool duck.
But it is not permissible that the authors of devastation should also be innocent. It is the innocence which constitutes the crime. I hear the chorus of the innocents screaming.
No! This is not true! How bare you are!
You were born where you were born and faced the future that you faced because you were black and for no other reason. I know your countrymen do not agree with me about this, and I hear them saying,
Oh, you exaggerate!
take no one's word for anything, including mine, but trust your experience. There is no reason for you to try to become like white people, and there is no basis whatever for their impertinent assumption that they must accept you. The really terrible thing, old buddy, is that you must accept them. You must accept them and accept them with love. They are, in effect, still trapped in a history which they do not understand. They have had to believe for many years, and for innumerable reasons, that black men are inferior to white men. People find it very difficult to act on what they know. In this case, the danger, in the minds of most white Americans, is the loss of their identity. Try to imagine how you would feel if you woke up one morning to find the sun shining and all the stars aflame. The black man has functioned in the white man's world as a fixed star. Big James, just know that I love you, and we love you, and you're loved, and you are loved by everyone, and everyone loves you, and you are being loved, and I am loving you, and he is loving you, and she is loving you, and we are all loving you, and you are loved by us, and you have been loved by us, and you will have been loved by us. You come from a long line of slaves. They won their battles, and so can you. You also come from a long line of poets. One of them said, "The very time I thought I was lost, my dungeon shook and my chains fell off." You know and I know that the country is celebrating 100 years of freedom, 100 years too soon. Your uncle, James.
Get out. I'm gonna sit over there. All right.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you. So, Mr. James Baldwin, what would you say inspired you to write a letter to my nephew? My dungeon shook.
I did a little research on myself, and let me tell you a little bit about what I found out about myself. I was born in 1924 in Harlem and was raised there as well, so When I was only 10 years old, I was harassed by the NYPD, so that really nice experience, right?
The NY. The NY. Can you shut up?
Oh,
Did you say the NYPD?
Idiot. Yeah, the New York Police Department. You call yourself an interviewer? It was an act of injustice and racism. And in 1948, I left for Paris to escape this cruel land. I ended up coming back 9 years later, only to find that this country's situation had gone worse. It made me angry. So angry. Yes, man. Quite angry indeed. Oh, yes, very angry. And it was in the heat of the civil rights movement that I expressed my anger. As some would call it, black anger, wrote the Fire Next Time, which includes the letter that you speak of.
Sorry, did you say the civil rights movement? My memory is a little vague on that. Could you remind me of that again, Mr. James Baldwin? Baldwin?
That's a very good question. Very good question indeed. Very, very nice, yes. Wow. Tasty? Excellent! Yeah, when I was writing this letter, I just was disgusted, basically, with how little change was happening. 1963 was the 100-year anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation. 100 years since my race was freed. And lots has changed to America. You know, women were allowed to vote. And limits on the president's power was placed. And the country was rebuilt on 2 occasions. And yet our race couldn't eat a fudging hamburger on the same table as white folks? It's insulting. It's utterly ridiculous. Not tasty at all. 100 years since the greatest step towards African American freedom, and segregation is still allowed? I was really frustrated to find out that even after I went to France, that so little has changed. And when the civil rights movement took stage, white people released so much rage onto the people that were trying to make things better. I just wanted to express some rage myself, which makes itself apparent in my works. I mean, my goal ultimately in my Dungeon Shook was to redeem loving qualities amongst us, and to express that our race, my nephew included, needed to protect their self-worth. They must not believe the harsh things that white people say about them, nor shall they raise their fists against them. Instead, we need to accept that the white folk and free them from their previous views on reality.
So, Mr. James Baldwin, what would you say is a primary reason for formatting this story as a letter, specifically a letter to your nephew? And could you explain a little bit about the other characters in this letter?
Sure, the reason is simple. It was to make my feeling and thoughts sound more personal to whomever shall read it. Whether it was my anger or my feelings of affection, I wanted my readers, my nephew being one, to feel the importance of protecting self-worth. And to the white folks reading this, I wanted to express the pain that African Americans had been concealing. I guess you could say some of the themes or central ideas of this story are that in order to combat racism first, one must learn to embrace his own identity and ignore the expectations of others. The other one that is exemplified by my writing is that change comes through patience, because hate and unacceptance will not promote brotherhood. As for the other characters, the grandfather that I referred to in the letter was my stepdad. He was a very strict person and a preacher. Research failed to tell me anything about my nephew, but my nephew, wherever you are, hope that you read that letter. And sadly, to finish this interview off, my career came to an end when I died in 1987 from stomach cancer.
You died in 1987? you're dead right now.
Yes, it's quite sad. Quite sad indeed. Goodbye.